Dementia residents have very little autonomy, with the removal of so many freedoms. Freedom of movement, freedom of choice, and to a certain extent, freedom of thinking, as dementia disables their memory. But one freedom that they do have, that they can exercise if they're educated, is freedom of attitude. They can choose to be positive if they wish to make the effort to do so. And with that, be pleasant. And it's very important because this ability to be pleasant and positive garners them the strength and ability to communicate and make friends. And once they've made friends at the dementia facility, then they can develop a community, which is so important for improving their quality of life when they're in such a restricted circumstance. So how this worked in a dementia facility that I was working at, in terms of how attitude shifted, it was a slow process, definitely a slow process, because when I first worked at this facility, the residents were very shut down, shut off from themselves and each other. So there was really very little response, nothing happening really at all. And it took a whole year before we started to get any form of communication going or responsiveness. But once it started, once the residents did start to, concentrate and focus and build their confidence and have the courage to communicate, it was fantastic. They went from strength to strength. But the initial starting point, that took many, many months. So just going to the point where the first group were communicating, I wouldn't say well, but they were communicating fit for purpose, we should say. They were communicating enough for their needs in a dementia unit, which is to be able to communicate enough to be able to make friends with your next door neighbour, with your, dining table colleague, with the person you sit with next door, or, your next door neighbour. So this aspect had come to pass where the residents were speaking and positively and in a pleasant way, and everyone was very pleased with things. But what actually happened was that at that point, there were two residents that came into the facility that were very cognitively strong, compared to the first group. I mean, they could do crosswords. I mean, that was like unheard of. No one was doing crosswords. One of these people, one of them was a former school teacher and the other guy was from the army. And it was actually when I realized their cognitive skill was when we were doing a group crossword, which everyone was participating in very slowly. And the school teacher came up with the fact that she knew that Boadicea was the Queen of the Celts. Who doesn't know that? I mean, yeah, like everyone. And then the army guy said that it was Hannibal. What animal did Hannibal take over the Alps when he made his siege on Rome? And he knew all the army history, so he said elephants. Easy as pie to both of them. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is a different level altogether. So in a dementia unit, of course, there's a different range of cognition and abilities, but here with this group now, the first group was only just managing to speak to each other, and here are these two new residents coming in who can do crosswords easily and with skill and vigour. So to integrate these groups, and of course, there were the disturbed residents who have behaviour problems, who are always on the periphery, with the fights and the shouting and things that go on in dementia facilities. So having to try and get a balance with all of this was very difficult for the residents because, they were trying to make an effort to communicate and concentrate. And now they had these two new residents who were like really clever in their eyes. And at the same time, they're trying to put up with all the disturbances. So how to manage all this? And really, actually, it was positive attitude that helped. It was the positive attitude that helped because that was the theme they decided to work on for the year. The first group was still working on that, and the new residents that came in deigned to partake I mean, the army guy was good, but the school teacher, she was quite imperious. She found it, you know, she didn't challenge the fact that she was there, which was interesting, but she did say that she didn't have dementia. She didn't challenge the fact that she was living there, but I haven't got dementia. Who said I have dementia? I mean, you know, she completely denied it. So with this group, trying to sort of get harmony with all the various shades of cognition was very difficult, but the theme of being positive came through all strands. That was the great thing about attitudinal change. I mean, even the school teacher realized that she had to be positive. She realized that she could be sarcastic and, you know, and demeaning to other residents, which she was at times, and she knew it was a fault. So in terms of the theme of being positive, she said, yes, I need to make an effort, I know that. So she actually did work on it, and especially because the army guy was very positive with all the women, and her best friend, also a school teacher, was very pleasant and kind to others. She was surrounded by two people who were kind, pleasant, positive people, and she felt herself. She said, look, yeah, I know I have to make an effort. I'll try. And she did try. Rather than screaming at the residents to be quiet when they were shouting, she said, look, there's no point saying anything. They're not going to listen. We just have to tolerate and be positive, you know, and just put up with it. Say nothing, it's better. And she became positive and pleasant, actually, even to the disturbing residents. She was kind to them at times. And it really made a big difference in the unit for the group, the wider group, and the staff. This whole process of, you know, seeing the good, being positive, being strong, being pleasant, and communicating with each other. So I've written this book, two books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, both on Amazon if you want to get them there, or in the description below at my website, www.pietavalentine.com. It's got all the epilogues in there, the positive practical techniques for relatives, you know, to apply these techniques for their family and dementia facilities. And thank you for your comments and your likes and your subscribing. Please subscribe, and thank you for those of you that have subscribed, and your connection and communication. Thank you.